Taking a look at the currency market now with Michael Keenan, head of Forex Research at Standard Bank. Good morning, Michael, and thanks so much for joining us. Well, it seems that risk aversion has abated somewhat, and it's taken the dollar rand below that 8 mark yet again. Let's take a look at all the optimism that seems to have filtered through.
Yes, good morning, Alishia. Well, it's all about really hopes that the Italian Senate will approve later on today quite a stringent round of austerity measures. Following that, we'll probably get the formal resignation from the Prime Minister Berlusconi, and then we can possibly move forward. And we've basically seen a pullback in those Italian yields in anticipation. We're also very hopeful, of course, that we're going to see the Government of National Unity in Greece sworn in around 2 p.m. this afternoon. So in terms of the sovereign debt crisis in Europe, still very much with us. But there does seem to be some glimmers of hope, and that's what's bringing back the risk aversion that we've seen. Also, yesterday we had a bit of a scare in the market when S&P came out and said that they were going to downwardly revise France's rating, and that was subsequently revoked. Basically, it was an error, but nonetheless it did spook the markets when it initially came out. So we've seen a bit of pullback on that front. We've also seen a bit of a pullback in terms of the global growth outlook, not looking as bad, given that we had some encouraging figures out of the States yesterday. So that's probably the reason for the optimism, and the rand's just once again taking its cue from that level of sentiment.
Well, certainly many sighing a breath of relief that S&P downgrade of France's AAA credit rating was a technical glitch and no more. Let's take a look at some of the domestic developments though, Michael, because full focus yesterday was on the SARB's interest rate decision, and Standard Bank was one of two that had foreseen a possible 50 basis point cut. Of course, that didn't come to the fore. What did you make of the position, the hold position that the SARB took?
Yeah, I think if one looks at the statement, they still seem to be skewed towards the hawkish side. They're definitely concerned about cost push pressures, so that's the administrative prices, the food prices, and anything related to things coming through from the exchange rate and the imported inflation side. Then, of course, we also had concerns raised about inflation expectations and the pass-through effect that could be in the offing for inflation in terms of producer inflation. That's already running at 10.5%, so that could filter through. And again, the exchange rate is definitely of a concern to them, and I think they're clearly not sure that the rand is out the woods yet. They probably think it could still be vulnerable to these international developments, and as a result, decided to opt for more of a hawkish stance. I think on the dovish side, clearly demand domestically as well as internationally remains weak. Core inflation remains fairly well anchored, but there's those other risks that led them to keep rates on hold.
For now, we've got commentary saying that interest rate markets remain attractive in South Africa to foreign investors. What unwind potential are we looking at though moving forward, and just how much of a risk is that? Because we've seen that play itself out on some days when it comes to the gold price specifically, where investors were forced to liquidate their positions to cover losses elsewhere.
Yeah, sure. In the current environment, there's always that risk that we could get a bit of a liquidity squeeze coming through from the international contingent, and that would render our bonds and our equities quite vulnerable to that. Of course, South Africa doesn't have exchange controls or any holding periods for foreign investors, so the money can leave the country as quickly as it arrives, and that's why people refer to it as hot money. So if there's a liquidity squeeze out of Europe, out of the States, we could very well see, once again, people scurrying for cash, people scurrying for safe havens. So the rand is always vulnerable to that, and I think that once again talks to the concerns mentioned by the MPC yesterday.